Welcome and Happy New Year. Wizard of West LA here. Let's continue on our journey of Python programming. I want to cover today the if statement. And what it basically is as a program goes through, sometime in your life or sometime when you program, you're going to want the computer to make a decision of some sort. Basically, the layout for the if statement, and we've gone through code from the last lesson. I want to give you basically a breakdown. I'll put it here as my scratch pad. It's basically, the command is called if, okay? And you have some sort of argument here. You'll have either something is greater than or equal to, or we're going to give a simple example in this one. We can say, for example, if a number is greater than 5, okay, you have something that happens in this area here, okay? And then the layout is right after that you put a colon, okay? And then the interesting part, when you hit enter, it does an indentation, okay? So then in this part here, you can have it display a message or perform a calculation. Let's just have it do something. You should be familiar with this command already, okay? So basically what it does, you can hit delete, okay, and you can move it back. Here's the layout. If some sort of decision needs to be made, okay, you put a colon, then you hit enter. Basically, we're saying after this colon, perform anything where it's indented here, perform these instructions. And then this line, what I have here, say I put print goodbye, okay, it will follow this after, okay? It will do whatever instructions here, and then it will continue here. However, if you look at this if statements, let's say, in this example, say the number is less than 5. Okay, it's going to ignore this. If it's less than 5, it's not going to follow any of these instructions and just continue down. Okay, so that is basically how an if statement works. For review, it's if some sort of decision, okay, a colon, and then it will execute whatever you put in this area where it's indented, okay? And then it will continue here. So let's write a very simple program, and this will also have some review of a past lesson, the other lessons. Basically, let's write a program that compares a number, and it will add 10 to that number, okay? And we're going to say if the number is greater than something, we'll pick some numbers and play around with it. It will give you a message, and then it will also display that number. Okay, so we are using a variable, or as I've described in other lessons, called like a bag that holds this information. We can say number is equal to, okay, this is an input, so we're going to grab information from the outside world. And remember what to use next? Good. A open parentheses, it's even giving you some help here. Then you put a single quote, and I'm going to put enter a number. And remember, put a space, okay? Put whatever you started with, you have to end with. So you have to put a single quote, and then a parentheses, parentheses, and then hit enter. Okay, so that's the first one. So number, whatever you put in here, it puts it in number. Now the next line, I want to add 10. Yeah, let's add 10 to whatever number you put in. So we're going to put, we'll call it number 2. Okay, so this is number 2. It's a different. This one's called, remember, this variable or bag, so to speak, or even box is called number. This one is called number 2. You can put numbers there to change the name. So this one, number 2, is going to be equal to, now remember this, we have to identify this number as, remember we put the command int, that means integer, and integer is basically a number that does not have a decimal on it. So that's a very simple explanation, because remember, we're keeping this simple and not making it complicated. So remember, I have to put number, okay. Technically, this is turning, because remember, you can enter anything in here. So it's turning whatever you enter there, it's turning it into a, basically what's on here in the code, a number. It's turning it into a number, okay? Because if you enter text on here, you'll get an error right when it lands here. So what we are doing is whatever you enter on here, it is now turning it into a number, an integer number. We'll go through different types in another lesson. Actually, it'll be a very short video because there's different types and we can just print and see what they look like. Now remember, in this one, number 2, we're going to add to that number, we're going to add 10. So let's say plus 10, okay? So we're adding 10 to that number, okay? So now, whatever number we put in, okay, it's going to add 10. So if we put in 5, here's a 5 here, plus 10 is 15, okay? So let's add our new thing called the decision. We're going to make it give you a message. If, that's how we start it, and we're going to say number 2, let's make something up. If number 2 is greater than 5, okay? Now remember, what do we put after the decision, or after the, they call it an argument, or if the certain decision, you put a colon, remember? You put a colon. Now remember, it's when I hit the return key, or the enter key, it's going to indent. Okay, so now let's just make a simple message. We will put the print command, we're going to display something to the outside world, and it's the same pattern as this. You put a open parentheses, colon, and we'll put what it is. This number was greater than 5. We'll play around with this. And whatever you begin it with, you have to end it with. So you put a quote, and then another parentheses. Then hit enter. Let's see, if you hit enter again, no, it just continues. Hitting delete is good. Delete will take you back to the line if you hit delete. I'll repeat that. If you go to here and then hit enter, okay, it wants you to put another command in. But in this case, we're not going to. So just hit delete. It'll go back. Now let's display number 2, okay? So we're going to display something to the outside world. So we put print, open parentheses, and then we put a quote. And we can put your number plus 10. We'll just put that, or you can put this, plus 10. Put a space, you can kind of read it, okay? Now in the last lesson, do you remember how you print this number as a string? You can think of it, I was thinking about this in the during the December. I was thinking about, think it as a string, like kite string, like a string of characters. That's a good way to put it. str means string, okay, which the command we're going to, the command we're about to use right now. So it's a string of characters. We're going to put plus, which means put whatever here after that space. So we're going to do str, which stands for string. So we're going to put this, we're going to include this with the string. Think of kite string. Like all these letters are tied together with kite string. Think of it as all these are tied together in a space, and we're adding this number 2. We're adding that. We're think of this as another kite string. We're tying a knot here. That's a good way to put it. Think of it like you're tying a knot. So it says your number plus 10. There's a space. We're going to tie a knot and turn number 2 into a string so we can display it. So you do remember that if you start with one parenthesis and a quote, okay, that closes the quote. We have another set of parentheses. We have one left, so you have to add it at the end. The trick to debugging or looking at your software to see if it's correct, you can count these. You can say 1, 2 going that direction means you have to have 2 going the other way. So we hit enter, okay? So let's go over this again. You enter a number, and then whatever that number is, it adds 10 to that number and puts it in the box or bag called number 2. Now we're making a decision. If number 2 is greater than 5, okay, then it will print this message. This number was greater than 5. And then it displays whatever's in number 2. So you'll see it's greater than 5. This layout is actually useful. It'll give you the message, and then you will actually see what the number is greater than 5. Okay, let's run this. So remember, you go to, I changed the screen around to make it easier to see so you don't see the whole desktop. So you just see this and this. So I'm going to the run command, and you can see it right there. And you just run module, okay? And then remember, you have to save it every time, okay? So we enter a number, and I'm clicking it on here, okay? Let's enter 1, okay? So this is nice because you can see what it's going to do. So it's going to go 1 plus 10. It's going to give you 11. And is that greater than 5? Yes. So you will see this message, and then it's going to say your number plus 10 is 11. Okay, let's hit enter. There we go. See? So it displays, it went to that decision, and yes, this number was greater than 5. Okay. Number 2, remember we added 1 plus 10, that is 11. Okay. Your number plus 10 is 11. So it's 11. So let's play with this. Let's say, let's change it instead of 5. Let's say greater than 1,000. Okay. Now instead of hitting enter, you can just click it somewhere else. Okay. So now I'm going to enter the same number, and it's going to say 11. Okay. But look at this. It's not greater than 1,000, so it will skip this line, and then it will print whatever you entered in. It's going to say, I'm going to enter the same information. It's going to say 11. Okay, let's run this again. So I'm going to click on run module. It wants to save it. So here it is again. Let's enter a number. I'm going to put the same number in, 1, and enter. Notice it skipped it because 11 is not greater than 1,000. Okay? So that is how you use an if statement. It's called an if statement. So you're making the computer make a decision on something, and it is, in this case, if it's true, it will follow this instruction here, whatever's in the indentation after the colon, and then you can have other code here do whatever you want to do. Okay? So that is a very simple view of if, and as you can see, just as it's following here, I just want to summarize again. The number you're entering in, okay, remember the computer is testing number 2. It's testing this one. And that one, you added 10 to whatever you entered in. And this one is being tested. You can also test number. That can be tested also, okay? But that is a different I will go through that on another lesson of how to test number, and I will do that on another lesson. Okay? Definitely feel free to hit the like button and also hit the alert button to keep alerted with other videos that we've been uploading. And I'd like to thank you for joining us with this lesson, and also check out the blog. I'm going to be posting this at www.wizardofwestla.com. You can check out the blog, and thank you very much. And remember, keep on learning. Definitely, I will be posting more on Python programming very soon. Thank you.